Heyo and welcome to another episode of Build and Beautify Season 2. In this City Skylines modded Let's Play, we'll build Eneida Bay, a vibrant city of our dreams featuring transit-oriented development, clean energy, and deep city detailing. In the last episode, we began Eneida Bay with a historic lighthouse, agriculture, and a little cheesed lumber industry that aesthetically looks like apple orchards. So if you happen to miss the last episode, then click on the info card above or check out the entire Build and Beautify Season 2 playlist located in the description below. In today's episode, we will continue with our little rural area by providing it a subway station and services, and then we will delve into the heart of Eneida Bay by adjusting our taxes and city policies in accordance with our episode 0 plans. So are you excited to build Eneida Bay? If so, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what features you'd build in your dream city. If you can't wait to see the new season unfold, consider becoming a channel member for exclusive perks, emojis, and early access to videos. And don't miss out on our Eneida Bay merchandise linked in the description below. Alrighty, so I'm wicked excited to start today's construction, so kick back, grab your caffeinated beverage of choice, and let's jump right on into it. Today's episode is going to start with the subway station that will connect into the greater metropolitan area. I want to start with the subway station so that we give way to the transit, or kind of prioritize the area for this type of infrastructure first, so that transit-oriented development is a little easier for us as we continue to build. And I wish to take a moment and give a huge shout out to Janos here for such a magnificent idea. Janos suggested that we make sure there is a rail line that connects into what is temporarily called Newtown, and honestly, this makes total sense, and I couldn't agree more with the suggestion. So my plan as we build this is to run the rail line up to where Interstate 5 veers south via the Trumpet interchange, and then provide two ending points, one for continuing south and one, south towards Newtown, and one towards Old Town, which is east. So kind of just to zoom out here, Interstate 5 kind of comes here and then loops into the Trumpet and then continues down. This area right here is actually the Eneida Highway, which is going to be more of a route. So if this is where we've begun to build, we'll be taking the subway line out this way, kind of down here. And then somewhere in this area here, we'll go off towards Newtown and south towards, I said that backwards. We'll go east out towards Old Town and south towards Newtown. All right. Coffee tally number 1 on that one. So with some of those plans in place, let's come in and let's place our subway station first. Because we are going to have 2 lines entering this area, I want to ensure that we have 2 platforms for the subways to stop at separate platforms to avoid congestion. So let's take a look at our options here. And I haven't really looked at it since getting the new DLCs. So I'm kind of interested. So we have the small overground subway station. So that has 2 platforms. Our OG overground subway station has 2. That's underground. I don't want to go underground. I'd like to watch the subways kind of come and go. We have our elevated, small elevated, modern metro underground, and modern subway. See what this one looks like real quick. I think I like that one. And we have 2 stops, so we can have 1 stop here and 1 stop here. So yeah, I think that would work pretty nice. Let's come on into a time lapse and kind of give it its own little space. Next, I want to ensure we have a unique green space for some bus stops, and I think after some deliberation, a ring line would be sufficient in this area, as the bus is really just a serving point to provide citizens access to the orchards and the farmlands from the subway station. I think an in-out line could be utilized, but probably not as efficiently. So let's start with a ring line going clockwise and counterclockwise, and then honestly, if one is massively underutilized or overutilized, we can just adjust it later on. So let's start this modular build by first providing the necessary service buildings, and I want to wiggle in the bus terminal somewhere near the subway so that the asset sort of blends in together with the subway stop. So let's jump on in and let's do that. Wow, I have way too much fun detailing now. Now let's create a green space for our bus stops, and I am aiming to create a design that is kind of quaint and modern. Therefore, I'll probably mess around with some terrain height, key walls, and gardens. I really cannot wait until the asset editor is up and running, as I would love, just absolutely love, to decorate this area with some more vibrant flowers. I know there is one mod out there right now that has California foliage, but it's technically a code mod, so I'm afraid of what will happen to the flowers if the asset editor does launch midway through our season. So keep in mind, we may revisit this area when the asset editor does become available to us. In the meantime, let's get in some green space and place down some areas for our buses to stop and pick up our people. Okay, I think that actually came out pretty nice. I went a little ham on the foliage, but I wanted this to be a garden area. And as I mentioned, once we have, the asset editor, we might come in and put some different flowers in here, but I wanted it to be colorful. Anywho, as I mentioned, I do want two ring lines running clockwise and counterclockwise, so I want to start by placing in the first stops and then we'll draw in the lines. I will also place the stops near all the major industrial points, just so that it kind of makes sense, because the whole purpose of the bus is so that people can come off this subway station, catch the bus, and then go throughout everywhere else. Little unsure if I should have put the bus stations all the way down here, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get in those stops and go from there. All right, now let's draw in the lines and name them. I think I'm going to just be kind of boring on this one. Just name these maybe B1 clockwise and B2 counterclockwise and just keep them the same color. I just don't have an idea yet on how we want to do the naming convention, so I think we'll just go basic for now. Now let's put some services in this area. It's pretty remote from the metropolitan area, so I want to ensure they have a little coverage of their own for emergencies and their needs, lest they fall into ruin. The first service building I'd like to place down is the welfare office, as this really does help an area's financial well-being in the game, and I would like the Dream City to be filled with, financially successful sectors. So let's plop in a welfare office really quick. Now let's add in some fire coverage, since Eneida Bay does not have any yet, and I do want to make sure I evenly space these out a bit better than I feel I did back in Pine Harbor County. So let's plop one of the fire stations in, and for all of our service assets, I want to try and keep to the brick buildings to continue with that quaint historic feel. So we've got a lot of options now, and actually I hadn't even looked at this UK one. I was thinking of doing the whatchamacallit? The German one. There we go. That's the words I was looking for. So let's kind of play around, see which one might look best. So this little bridge here wasn't intentional, but honestly, I do not hate it. I almost kind of want to come in and do this. So I think I'm going to just really quickly. If I can do it. But it is enjoying snapping quite a bit. There we go. All right, let's do that. That. A little bit of this. Just see if we can pull it all the way up now. And kind of fuse it all together. Okay, not quite sure what I'm going to do in that space just yet, but it is there. In the meantime, now let's add in a medical clinic because honestly, I'd be lying if I was to pretend that I'm not afraid of another map-wide pandemic like we had in Pine Harbor County. So this time, I want to ensure we have good coverage and spaced out medical clinics throughout the entire map. I felt we had this at PHC, but I don't know. The game didn't like something that I did in that build, and thus we constantly had a need for ambulances, like just constant. So let's jump on in and let's get a medical clinic into this area next. Next up is our police coverage, and I'm kind of doing two things with the police coverage. One, I want to make sure we have a very good amount of coverage for reasons that are going to make more sense later on in this episode. Second, I also want to ensure that when we start moving our first residents into this area, they feel safe. So let's start by putting in some police in this, what's kind of becoming this municipal area, and kind of go from there. Yeah, I definitely go just a little too crazy now with some of this decorating. And a lot crazier with anarchy than I was expecting. But the paths. I cannot help myself. These paths are amazing. Anywho, finally, I do want to ensure we have a few schools in this area. Because the main job source out here is the lumber and agriculture specialized industry, we really don't need anything more than just a elementary school and possibly a high school. So let's plop those in, and I think I'm going to put it right up in this area, right up here. Now let's talk about our city policies and how I hope these policies will affect Eneida Bay, starting with the advanced pollution management, which industrial filters reduce air and ground pollution in industrial zones, but produce more garbage. I do have plans for a lot of recycling centers, so that hypothetically will allow our garbage to be transformed into goods to resell within the city. So let's check this box off and get it ready to go. Next, I'd like to add in the city promotion, in which advertising increases the city's attractiveness, which brings in more tourists. This does unfortunately also increase the crime rate around the tourist attractions. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and this was the policy that I was kind of referencing to when we were placing down the police station. We need more police stations because of this policy, but I'd love to see a lot of tourists moving about the city, especially since I want to do a lot of modern green spaces in Eneida Bay. So I think the penalties of additional crime offset the dream aesthetic I'm hoping for. So as far as it goes for the district policies, we will adjust those specifically on a case-by-case basis. However, I will predict we will utilize energy consumption a lot, which advises citizens to pay attention to their use of electronic devices, and it decreases our electric consumption by 5%. Recycling is also going to be big, just to kind of play in with our advanced pollution management and my hopes that the recycled items can be reused in our industrial production lines. While we're on the topic of the districts, if you have any district name ideas for a starting area or this area we're building right now in general, let me know down in the comments. And if you happen to see a suggestion you like, give it a thumbs up and I'll use that as a sort of a poll. Now let's talk about adjusting our taxes. Back in episode 0, I mentioned that I want our city to specialize in pretty much half of the immaterial goods that we produce in City Skylines 2, such as recreation, entertainment, meals, and lodgings. This kind of goes hand in hand with our city promotion policy, so I would like to take a moment now to adjust these specific taxes and their prerequisite materials to about maybe 5% tax. I just want it low enough to entice more of these specific businesses to our area in comparison to the other types of businesses, but honestly, we're playing with unlimited money, so it doesn't matter too much in terms of game mechanics. Alrighty everyone, I think that just about wraps up today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on today's build. If you're excited to see the next episode unfold, consider becoming a channel member for exclusive perks, emojis, and early access to the videos. And don't forget to check out our Eneida Bay merchandise linked in the description below. Until next time, I hope everyone has a phenomenal week.